Welcome back to Judith Plains, Montana. I'm BP, and this is the 555 Challenge. We are in the evening or late afternoon evening of August, guys. Not a lot to do this month. I've been running some trips of silage back and forth from the farm to the biogas plant. Sold about maybe $105,000 worth so far. This will be our last trip for today, leaving about 100,000 liters in reserves, not only just sort of as a savings account, but also in order to keep the cows and the water buffalo well fed over winter, just in case we need to sell the next cut or we don't need to get a full cut. I have to look at the timing. It's the August, September, October. We'll probably get one more full cut off of our two grass fields. But anyways, want to go ahead and get this bit of silage sold up at the biogas plant. We have just a ton of wool again today, guys. I collected it last night before I slept, and it was full already this morning. And as I've been running around today, we have another 4 or 5 pallets. So we are sheep farmers. It came on sort of suddenly. We hadn't had much wool production at all for the first couple of years on the farm. And now it seems like something that we are going to be dealing with in a big, big way. So, going to go ahead and get this last bit of silage poured in to the biogas plant here as the rain comes down. It does look like we may have a little bit of hail in the forecast later. We'll have to see. There is another $7,623 for that last little bit of silage. Heading back to the farm, couple of things we need to do before we can progress into September. One would be getting that wool down to the spinnery. I do think we need to pick up the Tailor Shop today. I'll show you guys when we get back there, but we have, I think, 6 or 8, maybe even by now, 10,000 liters of fabric, and we need to get that done. The best time for selling clothes is in April, so we're not close, but I think it's going to be a relatively slow production, even if we increase the production rate up to 300%. So in order to have a good product to sell in April of next year, I think we need to get that going today. Additionally, we're at the point where I think we have enough milk. We need to do something. We probably should look at buying or leasing the dairy. I don't think the dairy is going to be $100,000, and we have our monthly payment coming up here at the end of the day. So I suspect we will lease the dairy as well. Leasing is incredibly affordable on this map. Gives us just a great opportunity, and most of these productions you could lease for 5 to 10 years before you really equaled out the cost of buying it. And I don't know that we're going to be on the map for 5 or 10 more years, but we do need to own 5 productions to reach our goals. So we own 2 already. We plan on buying the whiskey production when that comes up in the fall. We just have to get the money to do that, and then we would need 2 more. So we'll see which ones seem to be our big bread winners, maybe even the bakery. So heading back to the farm, our barley field here on the left is ready to be planted in September, so that'll be one thing we try to get to this episode as we progress into September, is get that planted. The corn is coming in strong. Always love to drive by this cornfield. Looks so good. The soybeans from last episode from July got planted. I thought I remember that soybeans did not require additional fertilizer, but after I planted, which is how we ended last episode, I jumped out into the field and it was only half fertilized. So you can see now it's 100% fertilized. So I did throw some manure down on the field. We have a 97% yield bonus, mainly because we didn't get to, what's the word I'm looking for? We didn't get to mulch the previous cropping because the cut clover could not be mulched. We probably could have mulched the sugar beets that were in that field, but at the end of the day, we weren't going to do both halves, and it's only 2%, so not a big deal. Speaking of yields, I did see a mod this week that came out that gave you variable yield on the field regardless of fertilization, lime, mulching, rolling state. It just basically, brought into the game the variability of, rain and heat and, maybe freezing and thawing and all the things that affect crops and, make the yield from one year to the next so much different for each field and each farmer. So not sure I'm going to introduce that one on this particular playthrough, but it was a very interesting mod and probably worth bringing into one of my next series. So just running down here real quick, check on the cows. Yeah, we have 48,000 liters of milk. We also have 287,000, almost 288,000 liters of slurry. We probably should set up that. I do have an auto drive course from here to the BGA, and probably should be using that to get some of that slurry sold, because I just don't see using it. We do have one full pallet of goat's milk here. We'll take over to cold storage. Here's our partial pallet of wool. Here's our partial pallet of goat's milk. On the Super Duty and the Prowler gooseneck trailer, we have 24,000 liters of wool. Guys, if you remember, we've been collecting wool on and off for about a year and a half now. I did sell some wool at one point. I think we needed like $10,000 or $15,000 just to buy the next piece of equipment or another field. I don't remember what it was, but I do remember selling some wool. But even with one round of selling, we took 33,000 liters of wool to the spinnery yesterday in July and have 24,000 more liters today. So we are just cranking out the wool at this point. The sheep are going to be a major wool producer for us. I'm not sure if the goat's milk is ever going to catch up, or what the breakdown between sheep and goats are. It's one of the things with the realistic livestock mod. I'd love to have some additional pasture information so we could see how many of each animal we had in there. Maybe that wouldn't even have to be with that mod. Maybe sort of like the additional field information mod that's out there, we could get an additional pasture or pen information mod and get you males and females and kits and calves and adults and all that kind of stuff, so you could really keep track of all of that without having to scroll through everything. But I digress from the task at hand, which is getting this wool down to the spinnery, and then we need to find the Tailor Shop. I assume that's going to be up in the main part of town. Again, don't really know exactly where that is. Haven't been on the lookout for it. Oh, buddy, heartbreaking. I got a big trailer here. Come on. Okay, just randomly stopping in the middle of the bridge. Not even a Sunday. It's middle of the week and we're not driving well. But we got through it. Gotta pay attention. So anyways, we'll get up here. We'll get this wool delivered. I may have to look into one of those animal production mods that moves what the animals produce, specifically the wool, to the production where you put the triggers overlapping. We'll have to see how that plays out, because this, at least in season, now we are heading into the cooler part of the year and the sheep will stop producing wool But in season, we are just producing an absolute boatload of wool. So let's take a quick look at our productions here. We have the spinnery. So we have 28,000, almost 29,000 liters of wool and 9,000 liters of fabric. So why don't we real quick put this to storing, and let's see if we can pick those 9,000 liters up. There they are over there. We'll drive them up and find the Tailor Shop for the first round, and then we'll, from there, we will put it on distributing. So there's 4, 8, 9, perfect. So let's go back in here, change this to distributing. I guess we should come back in and check the map. I have no idea where the Tailor Shop is. Based on how most maps are designed, if the spinnery is down here in the bottom right corner, I assume that the Tailor Shop is going to be sort of opposite. There it is, the Tailor Shop. So let's go ahead and tag the Tailor Shop, and let's see. I don't think we're not making that corner with the trailer. Another prime example of the parking lots on the productions here on Judith Plains. The fields and the roads are fairly wide open, but the production parking lots are absolutely a driving test in and of themselves. So, got our fabric. Let's run up to the Tailor Shop and get that production fed with the initial 9,000 liters of fabric and go from there. I will, when we get done with that, I'll head back to the farm. We do have a tanker for the milk, which is the good news. It was a tanker I really, really like. I'm fairly certain it's a Whiskey Sierra modded tanker off their itch.io site, but love that tanker. We'll get it hooked up to the Volvo and run up to the dairy and get that leased as well. We're going to end up with quite a bit of lease expensed in our balance sheet. I think we'll have the Tailor Shop, we'll have the spinnery, we'll have the flour mill, and we'll have the dairy all leased. So I expect that to be in the neighborhood of about $3,000 a month. Pretty significant cost. We're definitely making money on the productions because we waited until we had enough of the raw materials to push through and have some income on the back end. But it's always tough to take on additional expense when we're trying to get ahead. So just something we're going to have to take care of. Giving this guy the full lane. Man, everyone wants to be in my lane and driving like a crazy person today. You gotta drive with your head up. Gotta drive defensively. Let's loop through here and check out our grass field. Looking good. I was looking at the fertilization on this grass field at the end of the day yesterday in July, and because of the slope, there are several, not a lot, but there are several sections that don't get cut. The mower just can't adjust to the slope. And look at all of those soybeans. That is a thing of beauty. And what I love the most about the soybeans, guys, there's nothing to be done with them. We harvest them, we put them in a silo, and when they're at their best price, we sell them. No productions, no driving around, no pallets, no flatbeds. Just take them off the field, stick them in the silo, and when it's time to sell, take them to the best sell point and get them sold. So I'm excited to have just a straight cash crop on the farm. Not going to make as much money as if we, did something that made more wheat and bread or oils or something else, but just, it's going to be nice to have something that we can just sort of plant, harvest, sell, rinse, and repeat. So, coming through here, I have noticed, and I don't know if it's just because we're getting to the point where I'm doing a lot more driving and the farm's getting bigger, but we are burning through fuel. Every vehicle, I feel like I filled up at least one of the tractors twice in the July episode with all the planting and all of the field work. Let's see, I think we're coming in here. Yeah, working buttons. That sure seems like the kind of thing we're looking for here. Okay, so I'm going to assume the drop point is somewhere in here. Let's see if the leasing... Please use other door. Okay, it's not that door. Ah, it's this door. So it says to use the other door. Well, let's just see what it costs to buy. 240. Well, we don't have that kind of money. Yeah, we don't have that kind of money, obviously. So let's go ahead and hit it with a lease. 657 a day. Yep, not a big deal. We have the Tailor Shop. We are going to be distributing the clothes, turning that on. Let's get this cranked up to 300% so that we can keep things moving. And if we drop the straps, okay, so we're already dropping some. Oh, perfect, that's it. So jump back in here. So we have the flour mill that's leased, the spinnery that's leased, and now the Tailor Shop. Tailor Shop has 9,000 liters of clothes, and the spinnery is set to distributing, so we're good to go. Now, what's interesting is we could do fabric from cotton as well. Now, I'm not sure if that's worth investing in. Cotton is super expensive to get into. But if we do end up with that spinnery and it's sitting idle because the sheep are not producing wool in the cold months, then maybe it's worth taking a look. Now, I wasn't planning on picking up the bread, but we know it gets full. We're already at 31,000 liters. Let's just hit this up with some storing. And since we're right here, we'll bring it back and put it in cold storage with the rest of our stuff waiting to be sold. Did not do a very good job of getting squared up here, did I? There we go. That should be better. Not getting those last two for some reason. Not far enough back. We'll have to see. There we go. If you can get your auto load to grab as they're coming out, it tends to keep everything moving, so you don't have to wait for another cycle. So I like to try to grab it as it's filling the exfil point there, so, or the production point, so you can keep things going. So let's make sure we get the bread back to distributing. That is all set. Can't say that's a very well loaded trailer. Got lots of gaps in it, but it'll get it done. And you know, maybe a little bit of rain will help soften up the bread. Maybe we need an enclosed trailer for this type of activity next time, but for today we're just rocking and rolling. Did pick up a bag of seed in the sale yesterday. We'll have to pick that up at some point over there. Anytime there's seed in the sale, try to grab it. We're always going to need seed. I was going to buy some. There was a little bit of used fertilizer, or some cheap fertilizer in there too, but we're not really using a lot of fertilizer. Our cows are giving us good manure, which is helping us stay on top of that. And I like to keep it on the farm and keep it cheap if we can. So we're going to head back and get this bread into the cold storage. From there, I think we hook up the Volvo to the milk tanker, grab the milk, go on an adventure to the dairy, which I'm pretty sure is back up in town right about where we just were, lease our 4th facility there, and get that going. Then we'll head into September to get the barley planted. Been using this road when I come back and forth. Nice to avoid that turn. Also love driving by our new big field. Just love seeing all that crop in the ground waiting for us and getting us some money. Man, that field is ready to harvest over there. I think that one's like $400,000. So it's this one down here, $665,000. It is, I bet it's sorghum. Let's see. Yeah, it's a sorghum field. for 665. Man, that would be a great field to pick up, but we do not have $665,000. Not today. Someday we will. So I was also looking at those fields that are back there, adding to our farm. I'd really like our next field to be at least 20 acres, because if we get to 20 acres, we will have surpassed the 100 acres of arable land and be 20% of the way to our goal, which I don't think the goal is going to be achieved in a very linear fashion. I think as we get more land and more income, it tends to speed up fairly quickly. So I think getting to 100 arable acres is going to be a huge milestone. And while it's probably, it is 20% of our goal, I think it's probably more like 40% of the way to where we need to be, because we'll start making some real money at that stage. So, backing this up, we all know I love to hit the shelf on the passenger side, so we're going to try to avoid that. And just nailed it like a pro. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. That door closed up. We have 13 pallets of eggs, 7 pallets of goat's milk, plus the one in the pen I still have to get, and 104 pallets of bread, guys. We have just an absolute ton of bread. I want to take a quick peek at that. I know it's not the right time to sell it. When it's time to sell, right now the bread we have is worth $208,000. So definitely head in the right direction to get some more money in the bank and be buying more things. We also have over 100,000 liters of barley sitting in the silo waiting to go into the whiskey factory. And if we don't need all that, we could finally take some of that excess barley and turn it into flour and boost our bread production as well. So let's head down and grab the Volvo. We left it down here after we detached from the tipper. And let's grab our milk tanker. I'm parked here waiting for us to use it, and it is finally time. I'm not even sure, honestly, looking at the tanker, I like it so much, crashed right into that bowl. I'm not even honestly sure how much this thing holds. So, we'll have to see. Speaking of manure, we got a good heap going there. Okay, so the milk trigger should be on this door over here. I don't know that we're going to get into buffalo milk quite yet. I don't even think we have 10,000 liters of buffalo milk. We can check. I don't think it's worth just moving a little bit at a time. We will see, though. That is the animal trigger over there, guys. The milk trigger is going to be by the milk tanks on this side over here. So let's go ahead and go to the right spot. All right, here we go. Just got to get around this tree. 48,000 liters of milk. Let's go ahead and get that loaded. While we're grabbing that, I will take a quick look. Buffalo milk, yeah, we have 3,300 liters. I just don't see that being worth taking up to the dairy. I mean, yeah, it'll give us a pallet or two of buffalo mozzarella, but let's wait until we have a decent amount. So, Country View Dairy, down at the bottom left-hand corner of town. We are headed that way. Okay, so 48,000. It's about 75%. So what's that put us at? That puts us at like maybe 65,000 total liters this tanker will hold. And that is a sharp looking tanker right there. Driving into all these signs. So heading back up to the dairy. After this, we'll double check the animals and just make sure everyone's set. They all should be. And from there, we're going to head to September and go ahead and get that barley in the ground. And that may be about it for this episode. Just a bunch of running around. We are getting to the point in the playthrough. We're just approaching 100 hours in game. And that's when things really start to come together and you end up having a lot of things to move around. So maybe worth looking long-term at a logistics center. We could put one in somewhere near the farm, and that way we could just bring everything to one central point and have it there. The big problem with that plan is just going to be space. We don't really have a lot of extra ground. I don't know what we'd get rid of to have the space for a logistics center. We could give up, you know, maybe a piece of the grass field. There is that little piece of land next to the whiskey factory. There's a little rectangle there between our cornfield and the whiskey factory, but I think that you have to buy the land for the whiskey factory to own that, and that is going to be a pretty expensive piece of land to buy just for a logistics center. But something we'll have to consider, like I said, with the wool being produced and having to clear it out more than once a day. You know, there are a lot of things to consider, and while I enjoy driving the stuff around and transporting things and the logistics of getting all the productions filled up, it's going to turn into a driving simulator if all we do is keep moving the products from one point to another. So we're probably going to have to look at a better long-term solution. My goodness, I do not like this approach angle. Let's come in from the other side. Okay, this is better. Lots more room. Traditionally, yeah, their tipping point should be right in here. Perfect. Now, we don't want to dump the milk because we are not in possession of the dairy on a lease yet. So let's see. This door? No. Don't think it's going to be there. Don't think it's going to be up the stairs. It could be, but I think more likely it's going to be right here. It is. Once again, let's check and see what it costs to buy. 210. Don't have the money. We did try. Let's hit it with a quick lease. 575 a day. Reasonable enough for me. Here we are. So we are going to be producing butter and distributing, and cheese distributing, and that is going to be it. There's soy milk. So here I am saying there's nothing to be done with the soybeans, and perhaps, I guess it's worth a quick look now. Let's see. Soybeans at their best are going to be worth $1,193, so $1,200 per 1,000 liters. Soy milk, on the other hand, is worth 18, almost 19, so it's worth $600 more. So it's worth 50% more. But what does the production actually cost? Is it a 1-to-1? Yeah, so it's 30 soybeans and 30 water is 21 milk. So it's a 66% reduction in the total amount of product, and we're going to get a 50% increase in price. So it will make us money only because we have access to free water. It does mean that we would have to bring the water into the production. So something to consider. Don't have the soybeans now, so we're not going to worry about it. All right, let's go ahead and dump in our 48,000 liters of milk. We are rocking and rolling and getting a whole bunch of stuff done today. So that is done. Just check and make sure it's in here. Milk, there's our 48,000. We have our butter and our cheese productions up and running. So those should be good to go. Let's head back to the farm, do a quick check on the animals. Wow, that is Bad driving in a tight space. Do a quick check on the animals, and then we will head over to September to get that barley field planted and rolled. After that, I'm not sure there's anything else to do in September. There might be a couple of products that are best in September. We'll have to check and see if it's worth selling anything. But in general, I think it's just going to be time to keep on moving. So we'll head back to the farm. I'm going to check on everything, and I will probably just see you guys in September when we start the barley planting and check in with you then. So until September, I'll see you soon. That was the majority of the field done. We got to run down here and grab this corner. The tractor does not like this corner, and that's okay. We can knock it out real quick. So, with the barley planted, we're well into September. I want to check and see if we have anything that is in need of getting sold this month. Otherwise, that's going to be pretty much it for September. I'll get the rolling done between episodes for this field, and we will see where that gets us. So let's swing through here one more time. Grab that edge. Got all 600 horsepower of this tractor pulling when we're that articulated. So let's see. And away we go. So let's get this guy back to the farm. Another successful barley harvest for us. We do have both this cornfield and the new one all the way across the creek. Should be ready next month. Could be November, but I'm pretty sure it's in October. We did have notably less wool this morning. We had 24,000 liters yesterday. I think we have 5,000 today. So definitely cooler weather heading into fall. The sheep are not producing as much. So we'll have to keep track of how quickly the spinnery goes through the wool, and then consequently how quickly the tailor shop goes through the fabric, to see if we need to add some more or potentially even look at some cotton options to keep the productions full. This corner is getting tight, let me tell you about it. There we go. So, swing this guy in here. Get pulled back out just as tight as we can, keeping that back there. Excellent. All put away. I will throw the versatile on the roller here at some point and get that field rolled before the end of the day. But before we call it an episode, let's take a quick look and see if we need to get anything sold today. Not sure we have anything that is good in September, but we will see. All right, so best month, it will say October on this list, but we know that's September, so butter and cheese don't really have very much. Buffalo milk, goat's milk, water we're not going to be selling. Got a couple of decent prices. The bread still, got a ton more to go. Yeah, so there's really nothing to sell this month. Coming up December, that means November we'll have another $120,000-ish for the canola oil, so we are in good shape. So overall, very productive episode. Lots of productions up and running. We got 2 new productions leased and got those things set up and good to go, which is going to help our bottom line. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to drop a like and turn on notifications for more videos. Channel memberships are available if you'd like to support my content further, and members do get early access to upcoming videos. That's all for today, and I'll see you in the next one.